Secretary Dermot Spence, and friends joining us from Barbados and indeed Jamaica. It's a real pleasure to participate in the formal launch of the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project covering St. Catherine and Clarendon. Now, this project is a tangible demonstration of the UK's commitment to provide development assistance right across the globe on a global scale. Now, the impact of COVID on the UK economy means that we are temporarily reducing our UK aid to 0.5% of our gross national income, but we expect to return to our commitment of contributing 0.7% of GNI as soon as our fiscal position improves. Our ODA budget globally of £10 billion per year still means that we are one of the largest providers of development assistance in the world. But the choices we make as we reassign our resources will be strategic. And there'll be more expenditure related to COVID, and Jamaica will benefit from access to vaccines under the COVAX program that we are supporting. And we've already added much needed capacity here for rapid testing and other essential COVID requirements. And as we move towards hosting the next UN conference on climate change in Scotland next year, we will commit more money to help countries like Jamaica, which has already shown huge ambition in its nationally determined contribution. It's also worth noting, Prime Minister, that the UK continues to fund a massive share in the development budget of the European Union. And as our way forward is agreed with the EU, we will ensure that the transition to full British control of our development funds will continue to be a source of support for Jamaica and other countries that we've long partnered. The project we are celebrating today falls under the £330 million UK Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, and in Jamaica, the £53.2 million allocation we've made under the UK CIF programme will be honoured. This is the largest allocation in any single country in the Caribbean from this fund. And Prime Minister, your government decided to make full use of this fund, focused solely on agriculture. This will now extend to make sure that agricultural production is boosted and will now extend to the parishes of Clarendon and St. Catherine. Now, you joined us last year when we inaugurated the first phase in Essex Valley in St. Elizabeth, and it is progressing. We know that agriculture has to be the backbone of the Jamaican economy, and our aim is to boost production, improve competitiveness, and ensure that farm produce meets the standards required for export, as well as Jamaican consumers and visitors to this beautiful country. The infrastructure that will be provided through this grant will build in climate and disaster resilience to the irrigation systems. Minister Floyd, as you work into your new portfolio, I urge you to help us all to regain some of the momentum that we have lost. Part of this is undoubtedly due to COVID, but much of the pace of this program is in our hands. This means robust project management and filling some of the critical staff vacancies. It also means expedited procurement and completing the regulations, for example, on wheeling, which is needed to make effective use of the solar power and the JPS grid. The partnership overall between Jamaica and the United Kingdom runs deep. We're working together on programs to improve safety, security, and the prosperity of Jamaica. And today, the formal launch of the transformational Southern Plains Agricultural Project is truly a momentous occasion. Everyone involved in the project will have to play their part to complete the project in good time so that we can boost the livelihoods of farmers and improve the lives of all Jamaicans. Thank you for arranging this COVID-mitigated launch.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, Asif Ahmad, High Commissioner. Ladies and gentlemen, this part would not have been possible, as you have heard, without the provision of funding. In this regard, the funds are being provided by the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund and are being managed through the Caribbean Development Bank. So against that background, it is my pleasure at this time to invite, first of all, and we'll be doing video presentations at this time, Dr. William Smith, President of the CDB, to tell us about the role of the CDB in the project. And then this will be followed by Mr. Stefan Kossoff, the Development Director. And these two presentations will be in the form of video. So we'll now observe those video presentations as they bring us their greetings in that order.
The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, His Excellency Mr. Asif Ahmad, British High Commissioner to Jamaica and the Bahamas, the Honorable Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Mr. Stefan Kossoff, Head of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office Caribbean, Dr. Wayne Henry, Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Derman Spence, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, government officials, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings and best wishes for the season to everyone gathered for today's ceremony. Prime Minister, I am fully aware of the significant challenges facing you, your government, and the people of Jamaica due to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Allow me, sir, to express condolences to those who have lost loved ones because of COVID-19. I would also like to recognize those who have lost jobs, income, or educational opportunities as a result of the pandemic. Be assured that CDB remains committed to supporting your efforts to cope with and to recover from this pandemic. Once again, the vulnerability of our region is in sharp focus. The adverse socio-economic impacts have been significant. Border closures, global travel restrictions, and the near cessation of tourism activity since March 2020 have contributed to a reduction in productivity and to a spike in poverty. Social protection systems, already hard-pressed to respond to the needs of the poor and vulnerable, are also under tremendous stress. What COVID-19 has done is to highlight inherent weaknesses in our food distribution system and to remind us of our region's overdependence on global food supply chains. Such vulnerabilities are of even greater concern given the agriculture sector's susceptibility to climate shocks and to natural disasters. Behind that dark cloud, however, is the knowledge that agriculture has the potential to spur economic growth and to reduce poverty. Therefore, agriculture can play an important role in Jamaica's recovery from this pandemic. Now we are more acutely aware of farming communities like those in the southern plains and how they can lead the transformation of agriculture into a resilient, competitive, and sustainable sector. To do so successfully, it is imperative that Jamaica, and indeed all of CDB's borrowing member countries, give urgent attention to investing in activities that build capacity, improve food security, and where possible, reshore supply chains. The potential to realize these objectives is exactly what makes the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project an exciting and attractive prospect. It is also consistent with a basic principle of CDB's agriculture strategy that promotes the building of resilience to unpredictable occurrences. Key components of the project involve the upgrade of farm roads, irrigation and drainage. In addition, post-harvest handling facilities will be established on 795 hectares of government-owned lands in Amity Hall and Bridgepen in St. Catherine and Parnassus in Clarendon. A matching grant scheme will assist small farmers from disadvantaged groups to invest in on-farm irrigation equipment and agribusiness ventures. The initiative will benefit 70 small farmers, including women and youth, who will be able to lease parcels from 495 hectares of irrigated lands and have access to agricultural training and certification. In addition, 10 commercial farmers will benefit from access to leases for 300 hectares of irrigated lands and associated infrastructure. The Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project is being financed through the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, or UK CIF. CDB is serving as the implementing partner for the £330 million grant programme to build economic infrastructure across the Caribbean. All UK CIF funded projects will focus on improving climate resilience. Therefore, farmers will also benefit from training in climate-smart agriculture and will be eligible to receive certification in Global Good Agricultural Practice, which is an international designation in safe, sustainable agriculture methodologies. On that note, I must commend the government and people of Jamaica for your ongoing commitment to bolster the resilience of the agriculture sector. The UK has been a reliable partner on this program. Once again, we at the CDB would like to convey our deep appreciation to the government of the UK for entrusting us with the responsibility of managing this program. Today's launch signals a major milestone for the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project. We are now much closer to realizing those objectives which we have set for this project. I wish to reaffirm the resolve of the CDB to continue to work very closely with its partners, that is the government and people of Jamaica, as well as the United Kingdom, to realize those aspirations. Together, we can unlock the door to our region's food security and create that solid platform for enhancing Jamaica's economic sustainability and its long-term prosperity. I thank you.
Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Your Excellencies, colleagues and friends. With all protocols now observed, I would first and foremost like to say that the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office is delighted to be supporting this critical agricultural project in Jamaica. While I'm personally very sad not to be able to be with you all today, I'm so pleased that this project is now being officially launched. The UK is proud to be providing £17.3 million in grant funding for this project, a project which will deliver tangible benefits for the farming communities of St. Catherine and Clarendon without increasing the country's debt burden. We are particularly pleased that this project is progressing despite the huge challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent rains and flooding which have bedeviled the island. This project will help to upgrade irrigation and drainage systems and build new roads and handling facilities in St. Catherine and Clarendon. But it will do much more than that too. It will also ensure that the benefits are delivered in an inclusive and equitable way by building the capacity of local farmers, including women, young people and people with disabilities. The aim is to secure their livelihoods and enhance incomes as they get access to new markets. With this in mind, there will be a matching grant scheme to assist small-scale farmers from disadvantaged groups to invest in irrigation equipment and agri-business ventures. Farmers will also be offered training in climate-smart agriculture and certification up to international standards. We commend the Government of Jamaica for its consultative and participatory approach to ensure that there is strong community engagement throughout the project design and implementation. And we look forward to continued collaboration with our partners in the government as well as our colleagues at the Caribbean Development Bank to ensure the smooth and efficient delivery of this project so that the potential benefits are fully realised in a timely fashion. But this project is only one part of a much wider partnership between the people of Jamaica and the United Kingdom. Currently, the UK is delivering programmes totalling £113 million, or almost 20 billion Jamaican dollars across the country. This, of course, includes our other major agricultural investment in Essex Valley, which we launched together with the Prime Minister only last year. Through this close partnership, the UK will continue to stand by Jamaica in supporting its key development priorities around the promotion of growth, improving security, building resilience to natural hazards and climate change, and managing the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. I thank you all for your attention and wish you all the very best for a successful launch event.
Let me extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Smith and Mr. Kassoff, and to assure them that the funds that are being directed at this project will go a far way in facilitating increased agriculture production, which is its main objective. At this point in time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you and ask him to bring his greetings, no other than the very hard-working Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. Please make him welcome.
The Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, His Excellency Mr. Asif Hamad, our British High Commissioner to Jamaica, Minister, Senator the Honourable Albin Hill, of course, Mr. Stefan Kassoff, our Head of Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office for the Caribbean, Dr. William Smith, President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Mr. Joseph Giles, our Chief Executive Officer of the National Irrigation Commission, Mr. Al Powell, our Chief Executive Officer of the AIC, Dermot Spence, our Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, Mr. Wayne Williams, our Project Manager for the Southern Plains Agriculture Development Project, Dr. Wayne Henry, Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Technical Advisor Gabriel Hilton, other distinguished attendees here and virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody. Thomas Jefferson once said that agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will, in the end, contribute most to real wealth, good morals, and happiness. It is with this in mind that we at the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, along with our partners, strive to establish a sustainable and resilient agricultural sector. Time and time again, and especially now, our farmers show us that by nature they are resilient. They are willing to go out despite the ravages of weather and to continue to farm. Their resilience, however, has to be matched by the infrastructure needed to boost their productivity and to truly transform the sector. This Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project comes against this background. with the aim to support and promote agricultural development through the provision of an irrigation infrastructure which will provide adequate water supply, irrigation and drainage services, along with the appropriate agricultural marketing solutions to ensure that we are developing a socially inclusive, gender equitable and climate sensitive agricultural sector. And for that, we are tremendously grateful. And I want to thank our partners from the United Kingdom, the UK Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, for the funds that we have received for this worthwhile investment in helping us to modernize our agricultural sector, our partners at the CDB, and I want to assure all our partners that the ministry will be working with alacrity to ensure that this project comes to fruition in the appropriate time frame. I have heard you, High Commissioner, and you know we have had many a discussion. I want to personally thank you for your dedication to this project and also to our other project in Essex Valley. I want to assure you that we have sat with the project team, we have looked at the timelines, and we have said we have to ensure that this project comes in time. And not just because of the size of the project, but the reality, the impact that this project will have on the 700 farm groups that are depending on this water supply. It is a transformative project that will completely ensure that we enhance productivity in parts of Clarendon and St. Catherine. As you would have heard, under this project, we will dig 3 wells already. 1 has already been completed, and we're very happy that in that 1 well, we have already hit 50% of our targeted daily water supply. The second well is already 90% to completion, and the team tells me that in another few weeks, probably right in time for Christmas, we will hit water, and we expect that we will be almost there in relation to our targeted water supply. And we will commence the digging of the next well in January 2021. Additionally, we have already started to organize our farmers and to organize our farming groups to ensure that they can really garner the benefits of this project. We have started to give them training in relation to agri-enterprise. We've started to help them in relation to technology and research. And we have already identified the crops that we believe are best suited for this area. Already, Prime Minister, we're looking at onions, sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, hot peppers, and we've chosen the crops, not only that those are ideally suited for the area, but that have great export potential. Because we see this project as a direct link to increase our productivity and to capture a greater share of the export market, especially the UK export market. We want to be able to say that directly flowing from this project, our citizens in the United Kingdom can go and pick up the best sweet potato in the world right off your shelves, fresh from the southern plains. So for us, this is a major project, and we are already working to ensure that a number of our farmers will be able to benefit from the matching grant scheme that comes as a part of this project. And I can tell you that the farmers in Parnassus, Amity Hall, Bridgepen, and the environments are truly looking forward to the completion of this project. So for all of us, it ties into our vision of transforming agriculture, ensuring that agriculture is market-driven, research-based, and is sustainable. It ties into our vision of ensuring that our youth and our women are adequately catered for in our modern agriculture sector. And more importantly, it ties into our dreams of greater productivity and ensuring that Jamaica is capturing a fair share of the agricultural export market. We thank you, and we look forward to continuing to work together to transform agriculture. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing a virtual launch, and it would have been the preferred action to be out in the field, seeing what is happening on the ground. You would have heard about the successful drilling of one well that has yielded just about 50% of the expected output, and others are on the way. I now invite you to view a video presentation of the area so you can have an idea of what is happening on the ground.
The United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund has provided grant funds totaling some £16.7 million sterling to assist the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries in the implementation of an agriculture development project in the parishes of Clarendon and St. Catherine. The Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project provides targeted intervention through agricultural development to address low productivity and stimulate economic activity by creating market linkages in farming communities of Parnassus, Clarendon, and Amity Hall, Bridgepen, St. Catherine. The grant is being administered by the Caribbean Development Bank, and the project implementation agency is the National Irrigation Commission. Well construction commenced in Parnassus on the 2nd of June this year. One well has already been completed and is currently being tested. Drilling has also commenced on 2 other well sites in the project zone. Currently, the proposed Amity Hall Bridgepen site has been partially developed for irrigated agriculture with associated National Irrigation Commission NIC pump facilities. Water from the Rio Cobre River supplies nearby farmers who lease 2 or 5 hectare blocks from the Agro Investment Corporation, the AIC. NIC charges farmers set tariffs for irrigation, whilst AIC leases various lot sizes in the agro park and provides agribusiness support services. Engineering designs are at an advanced stage of completion and will determine the most effective and efficient systems and facilities that can be put in place at the 2 project sites, specific to the needs and the characteristics of the selected communities. The National Irrigation Commission is spearheading the implementation of the construction. Thereafter, the sites will be handed over to the Agro Investment Corporation, where they will manage the implementation and the operation of the newly built agro-parks. Capacity building programs in global best practices and climate-smart agriculture will also be features of the project. And the Rural Agricultural Development Authority will provide discovery-based learning as part of their farmer field schools with the use of demonstration plots. Several stakeholders and community meetings have been held in the project zones, and potential farmers and participants have expressed their strong support for the project.
Southern Plains Agriculture Development Project is a critical component of the government's drive to bring idle agricultural lands into productivity. These lands were formerly in sugarcane, as was said before, and with the right sizing of the sugar industry, a lot of the lands have been coming out. We also have the other issue of climate change, and therefore the need to be able to provide guaranteed supply of water to farmers, and this project and program therefore is geared towards engaging or extracting water from the groundwater below us as we stand here, and to lift that water and to put it into supply pipelines so that farmers can access water at their individual farm gates when they need it, because critically agriculture and farming should not wait on water. Water must be there at the point when the plant is ready. And as such, this is one of those plans that we're putting in place to ensure that we can raise the farmer's ability to grow his crop to increase its productivity, increase their profitability, improve their sustainability, and therefore overall growth of the Jamaican agricultural sector.
The planned infrastructure works incorporating climate resilience measures will include improved irrigation, drainage and flood control systems, and farm roads expansion and rehabilitation. Small and medium-sized farmers will make up the majority of the beneficiaries, with 495 hectares allocated for them. Some 15% of the space will be reserved for women farmers and 70 hectares for young farmers. The Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project, supporting agribusiness and rural development in Jamaica's farming communities.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister believes in economic growth and job creation. And those of us who are employed in the agriculture sector are aware that the Prime Minister understands and supports the critical importance of agriculture to the expansion and sustainable development of the Jamaican economy. Mr. Prime Minister, your presence and participation in this launch ceremony today underscores the emphasis and importance you place on this project and this sector. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to ask you to join me in welcoming Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Dermot Spence, Minister Floyd Green, the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, and I see here as well joining us Minister Aubin Hill in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Allow me to acknowledge our High Commissioner from the United Kingdom, High Commissioner Asif Ahmad. Allow me to also recognize our Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and Mr. Wayne Williams, who gave us the program overview, and Dr. Wayne Henry, the Director General of the PIOJ, who prayed for us. And let me also acknowledge virtually for their greetings Mr. Stefan Kossoff, Development Director of Foreign Commonwealth Development Office in the United Kingdom, and I believe it's Dr. Warren Smith of the CDB, who also gave greetings. You will notice that I deliberately spoke in my mask. I have a duty to always make the point that it is a requirement under the Disaster Risk Management Act that we wear a mask, certainly in public, but even when we are in circumstances such as these, we wear our mask. I believe it has been one of the most effective measures in controlling the spread of the coronavirus. The agriculture sector is of fundamental importance to the sustainable development of Jamaica. Agriculture is not only the production of food, but also the logistics and supply chain to make this food available at affordable prices. As we seek to transform the sector, we must focus on diversifying our agricultural base, enhancing our food security, and improving the resilience of the entire agricultural value chain to internal and external shocks. The COVID-19 pandemic has created both demand and supply shocks. The demand compression created by employment and income shocks was further exacerbated by the closure of hotels, restaurants, and entertainment activities. Minister Green will testify that entertainment activities don't only revolve around spirits, but also around food. The jerk chicken man and all the other people who provide food at the parties and the various dances, they have been terribly affected. And that is translated downstream to the farmer as well. But there has also been some other changes in demand. People have changed the way in which they have consumed. They've changed their diet. And, I'm certain that the markets around the island would see less traffic because a significant number of persons are purchasing online. So there is a shift in the way consumption is done. But we're all learning to cope with the disruptions. And even with the disruption, it is encouraging to note that the June to September 2020 quarter, as reported by the Planning Institute, reveal that real value added for agriculture, forestry, and the fishing industry recorded a 2% increase, even in the pandemic. This improvement, obviously, we could say that favorable weather conditions, we had significant rains, yes, which resulted more so in damage to civil infrastructure. We did do some estimates on the impact on the agriculture sector, but nevertheless, it was not of the nature to have destroyed total output. So we have seen some increases there, but government policy can also take some credit. We have had a massive productivity incentive program, which would have provided fertilizers and seedlings to farmers. And we have the agricultural excess buyback program, which provided an outlet for farmers' produce in light of any oversupply that may have existed in the market as a result of COVID-19. Certainly, I recall myself going to several of the farmers' markets that were held and buying more supplies than I needed. But I'm certain it helped. Additionally, the government allocated $1 billion to MICAF to support our COVID response for our farmers and fisherfolk in order to stimulate recovery and growth in the agricultural sector during the 2020-2021 financial year. This money will build infrastructure, provide equipment and machinery, support climate-smart production practices and technologies, and give additional assistance to farmers and fisherfolk to enhance their competitiveness. Now, breaking ground for the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project was initially scheduled for March this year, but had to be postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Southern Plains Project is in direct response to the need to repurpose lands previously under sugarcane in the parishes of St. Catherine and Clarendon. And you would have seen in the video with the very eloquent presentation by, I believe he's a director or the chairman of the NIC, where he says, due to the right sizing of the sugar industry, very diplomatic speak, but the truth is that the sugar industry is changing and it is releasing significant lands. What are we going to do with these lands? We can't just allow them there to sit idly by. And there is increasing developmental competition for the land. Some people want it for housing. Some people want it to build other kinds of infrastructure, to convert it into industry and logistics, and of course, there are those who want to keep it in agriculture. I am certainly sympathetic to the view that we need to increase our agricultural footprint, and as many acres of those lands as we can use, we should use. And so I'm very happy to officially launch the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project today, because it signals the government's intent to continue its thrust in agriculture and on the lands that have been released by sugar. Sugar is such a complicated subject, High Commissioner, and it stirs up all kinds of issues, social issues. It is, a part of our history, and it is indeed fitting that the UK is assisting us in coming to grips with the release of land from sugar to put it into productive use and to help the development of our country. So, High Commissioner, as said before, the project targets 795 hectares of government-owned land to be leased to farmers in the communities of Amity Hall in St. Catherine and Parnassus in Clarendon. A total of £17 million is earmarked for the development, which seeks to provide irrigation infrastructure on lands which have been earmarked, as I said, for leasing to small, medium, and even some large-scale farmers. And most importantly, we will make specific provisions for women farmers and youth farmers. Small and medium-sized farmers are to make up the majority of the beneficiaries, and they will have 495 hectares allocated to them. Some 15% of the space, that is 124 hectares, I gather, will be reserved for women farmers, and 70 acres will be set aside for young farmers. The planned infrastructure works will incorporate climate change measures, such as improved irrigation, drainage and flood control systems, and farm road expansion and rehabilitation. The project is being funded through a grant, as I said before, of approximately £17 million from the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, administered by the Caribbean Development Bank. And the project is aligned with the £35.5 million Essex Valley Agricultural Development Project that is now underway in South St. Elizabeth, and which draws on the same source of funding. And we're very pleased with that. That project is going very well. There were some delays, Minister, and if the public were to be brought into our private discussions, which I believe I should bring them into those discussions, that I have expressed to you my own concern about the speed at which we are implementing these projects. I'm not comfortable that we're given grant funding and somehow we just can't utilize the grant funding as quickly as it is being given. It is a concern, High Commission, and again, our private conversations, I should bring the public in on it, that you have raised concerns to me as well about the speed at which things are going. And it should be known that, the administration is not comfortable, and we don't feel it's a good reflection on us when we are not moving as quickly as we can and as we should. And oftentimes when you get to the root of it, it is a bureaucratic issue. It is a bureaucratic issue. And a part of development, a part of the development of any country is the speed at which its bureaucracy can implement. And Jamaica is at a phase in its development where it must contemplate very strongly systems of transparency, probity, and assurance of value. And to do that, it takes time. And public servants don't want to be called up before the PAC or the PAC or their names to be placed in the papers, oftentimes in ways that are superficial, do not get to the gravamen of the issue, and are cast as corrupt. And that fear leads to sometimes a crippling of action and slows down everything. It is a balancing that we will have to do, but it is part of the maturing of our bureaucracy, that you may need to have a longer runway in planning, a longer runway in risk management, so that implementation can go smoothly. So you have to take a longer time in planning projects. But it shouldn't be that your pipeline of output is stuck. And one of the challenges that this administration has at this time in our development is to get the public bureaucracy to move very quickly, having acknowledgement of the fact that we must be efficient, we must be transparent, and there must be probity and assurance of value to the public. It is a development issue, and we grapple with it every single day. And I act as a driver and a motivator to get it done. But I think, you know, as we progress and our public bureaucracy progresses, you will see greater efficiency in implementation. And that is a commitment of this government. We thank the United Kingdom for the generous support provided through the UK CIF, which was established to provide critical infrastructure that will lay the foundation for growth and prosperity, poverty reduction, and increased resilience to climate change in the Caribbean. We are also very pleased, High Commissioner, to hear your opening remarks, which spoke to the fact that the reduction in the UK's overseas development support is only temporary. At another occasion, I had raised my own concern that in this time of global challenges, that we should not be retreating. But of course, we understand the exigencies of the pandemic on national budgets. Jamaica faces the same challenge. But we accept the reassurance that it is not a retreat from the commitments that were previously made, which countries like Jamaica, island states, small island developing states, which are seriously affected by issues of climate change and other developmental issues, for which that commitment stood. We saw that as very progressive, and we are happy to hear that it is only temporary and certainly due to the exigencies of the COVID pandemic. And we look forward to overcoming the pandemic and making even greater strides. And I certainly look forward to being in Scotland for the UN climate conference when it is held. I've also been assured that current projects like these, which we're now launching, will not be affected, as those fundings are already committed. And I take note of Mr. Kossoff's presentation as well, where he pointed out that the UK development funds in Jamaica presently amount to some $20 billion in projects all across the island. It's a very important point to note because of our historical relationship and our being members of the Commonwealth, that our relationship, historical relationship, and our fraternal relationship being in the Commonwealth, that there is value and meaning to it. Oftentimes, it is not known, it is not said, it is not felt enough, but it is important that where we have good friends and good fraternal relations that we acknowledge and we say thank you. In closing, since I have the ears of the media and the nation hopefully listening on social media, I have made a decision, Minister Green, that I will no longer send to get my favorite fish, which is the parrotfish. So it's hard to tell a Jamaican not to eat parrotfish. I'm not hereby saying that to any Jamaican. I'm just telling you what my decision is. Because having reviewed, for a long time I've been paying attention to what has been happening. Later on today I'll be making a presentation of papers on the Oceans Initiative. So I've been doing some reading in preparation. And we have overfished our fishing stock to the point where the alternatives to the parrotfish, we have overfished them. So it's the parrotfish which lives very well in this region. It's there in abundance. We have to be far more enlightened in how we manage our fishery resources. We can actually fish it to an end. It is possible, and we have seen it. But not only that, the parrotfish is such a critical element of that ecosystem, which we depend on in terms of eating the algae, cleaning off the coral reefs, and creating the sand by virtue of what it produces as waste. That I think as every single Jamaican should take this into consideration, that our consumption of this species of fish could actually have an impact on our environment. And, you know, if I were to take the Christian approach to things, which is to say that God gave man dominion over the land, but he gave us intelligence as well, that if we see that our action is damaging the land, then we have to use that intelligence to change our behavior. My job is to point things out to people sometimes, not just about legislation and policy, but hopefully for those who are listening and those who have the understanding of the issues, they too can become advocates by virtue of this presentation. And hopefully we can see a change in behavior. But that wasn't the point I really wanted to put across. It's a very important point. But there was another issue which is in the agricultural space, Minister, which is a report tabled by the Integrity Commission regarding the issuing of licensing for the importation of certain parts of the chicken. Even before the Integrity Commission released its report, the Minister will tell you that I've had very serious discussions with him about what needs to happen in this regard. It's a complex issue. It's an issue that has gone on for many years. I have not yet had a chance to thoroughly review the Commission's report. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do so over the weekend. Minister, I hope you will take it to Cabinet on Monday and give us a presentation. But there are deeper issues than just the transparency and competitiveness issues. During the pandemic, the government had to contemplate what would happen if there were an epiphenomenal event that totally disrupted our supply chain such that we could not provide a staple protein for Jamaica. Remember now, though we rear the chickens here, we import the feed. And if the supply chain for chicken were to be affected, what would be the next protein? Obviously fish, but you have overfished your resources already. So I have asked the Minister of Agriculture, long before this report, to examine ways in which we could shock-proof our protein supply chain, both for chicken and fish. So that would mean, for example, supporting the tilapia farms that exist, expand that production to make it more affordable, and to ensure that they are grown under conditions that are environmentally friendly and healthy for human consumption fully, and indeed have some taste. And then to look at the potential here of growing feedstock for feeding our chicken. What could be used? And so I'm awaiting that report, Minister, as soon as you get a chance. We'd love to hear what that would be. But as it relates to the whole business of how these licenses are distributed, one thing we're clear on is that it is not an incentive-compatible distribution. In other words, there are ways to do this which would encourage the persons who are merely seeking to import to also get involved in production. In other words, the whole purpose behind the issuing of the license is that when there is a shortfall in the local production, then you import. Somehow there's been a disconnection. Yes, sometimes we do stop. Yes, when we see that we have enough, we would limit the supply of these licenses. But really, we need to go one step further. The people who are importing should also be the people who are producing. And in that way, it is incentive compatible. Because if you are producing here, then you are not so likely, and you wouldn't have the incentive to always want to be importing. So we should make sure that we have our local people tied into the production value chain here, so that there is a vested interest to keep our output high. And, Minister, we have to examine this as a strategy. We have to examine the entire system. We know it is a complicated issue. Many businesses are built on it. It is not something that you can overnight by fiat of the pen to change, but so that the public understands that this is not something that the government is comfortable with. And we are looking into it to find ways to make changes that are not going to be disruptive, but changes that will be beneficial to all and increase output and the public good. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to launch officially, open the SPAD, as it is called, the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project. And once again, thanks to our friends from the United Kingdom, our partners in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to again thank the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, our Prime Minister. Please give him another round of applause. Very inspiring address with some directives which we will seek to execute. At this point in time, it is my pleasure also to say thanks to all those who have attended here today. And of course, those who join us virtually, with special thanks to our special guest, our host, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Government of the United Kingdom, represented by the High Commissioner, and officers of the UK Department of International Development, the CDB, represented by President Dr. Smith. Minister Green and the entire team from the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, NIC, AIC, and the projects. And last but not least, the media, who I'm sure have a lot of headline for tomorrow's paper. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a pleasant day. Please join us for refreshment. Thank you.
small businesses like mine continue to serve the needs of people.
We all play a part in keeping the wheels of our economy turning, and we do so responsibly.
We are building forward